So what's my home worth now? Is it going down in value? Is the market collapsing? Or are there lots of people out there trying to harvest really amazing deals? Well, I'm Justin Miller with the Chong Miller Group, and this is the April 2020 residential real estate market update for Las Vegas. And let's get into those questions. They're very valid questions. We're at a time of significant uncertainty in the market right now. Uncertainty in our lives right now, uncertainty about how we even interact with people right now. And so these questions take on more resonance than they might otherwise. So one of the ways that we can gain insight into the answers to those questions is by looking at what has already occurred, as well as by looking at leading indicators of what might be occurring or starting to occur as we go forward in time. And so every time I do one of these videos every month, I try to give my understanding of how the future is going to look, at least in the short term, as well as longer term, based on what I'm seeing in the past. And it's not a straight trend line analysis. And clearly a trend line analysis in this current environment is not going to work. It's not going to provide us all of the information that we want and that would be actionable to us. So let's go ahead and dive in. And I do warn you, this video is going to be a little longer because there's a little bit more information to provide. But so here it is. First, let's start with the March 2020 residential resale real estate in the Las Vegas Valley. The price that was achieved, the median sales price on a resale single-family home last month was $314,500. Now that is actually up about 0.8% from the $312,000 in March of 2020, and it's up 5.2% from the $299,000 in March of 2019. Now I want to interrupt myself just to make a little note here for you. I know that last month a number of people were saying, hey, prices had gotten to $316,000. We had crested the peak of $314,700 that had been achieved in 2006. And my numbers were saying, no, we were at 312. Well, you're going to have some people now saying, hey, the number is up to 319,000. My number is we're now at 314,500. So we're right at that nominal number from 2006. Why the difference? Because we're looking only at resale single-family homes. The people who are giving the number for 316,000 last month and 319,000 this month, if you happen to run into that, they're looking not just at resales, they're looking at all single-family homes. And so that includes new construction. That's a little bit problematic because builders are subjected to their costs of labor, of material, of land, and those costs cause their pricing to be structured in particular manners that's not necessarily represented or representative of the resale market. The resale market is based on what buyers and sellers are willing to come to an agreement on. It does not have to do with the fixed cost of development of the house. So new construction right now is running just about $362,000 median price in the Las Vegas Valley. That pulls the numbers that some other people may be quoting higher. The reality is we just hit $314,500 in the resale residential market here in Las Vegas. So what about closings? It's nice to know that there's a price, but maybe nothing's actually transacting. Well, in reality, in March of 2020, we had in the same geographical area, the area covered by what used to be called the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors, now called Las Vegas Realtors, the local MLS board. We had 2,595 closings. Now I pulled this number on Friday, and so this number may go up slightly to 2,600. There's a slight bit of delay in reporting the last day of the month. But anyhow, that's what we've got, 2,595. That's actually up 13% from February of 2020. So that's pretty healthy. It's actually up, interestingly, so maybe all those transactions happened in the first half of the month. But if we look back 1 year, we would see more information with regard to that. We're actually up 5.2% from the 2466 that closed in March of 2019. So the market right now today, a couple days ago, at the end of March, was performing better than it did last year at this time. I'll give a little more insight about that in just a couple minutes. What about supply in the market? Has new inventory been coming into the market? Yes, some. Supply is up a little bit. It's up to 2.3 months worth of inventory. That's up from what was initially reported as 1.8, but revised to 2.1 months of inventory at the end of February 2020. So it's up 9.5% from what we had at the end of February. But it's down 36% from the 3.6 months worth of inventory we had in March of last year. So inventory remains very tight at 2.3 months. How about the number of units for sale, the number of individual single-family houses for sale? Well, that number is 5,958. That's up 5.5% from February 2020, 5,640. But it's down by a full third, down by 33% from the numbers we had March of last year, 8,905. So again, another version of what inventory looks like or supply in the market. Inventory is very constrained, it's very tight. And I do want to note, for some people who are wanting to say dramatic things for reasons that only they know, about market collapses and about the end of the world and etc. When we went into the housing crisis, which was really a financial crisis in 2006 through 2011, we went into that not with 2.3 months worth of inventory for sale. We went into that with 2.5 years worth of inventory, 30 months worth of inventory. There was a massive oversupply in the marketplace and nobody was buying, and so that supply was forcing prices down. We do not have that kind of situation right now. We have 2.5 months, 2.3 months worth of inventory actively sitting in the market and looking for buyers, and we have buyers who are actually looking for houses to buy. And so that tight inventory creates a floor under the pricing models. We're not going to see a collapse in pricing. So, all right, that's the last month, that's March. But the governor's stay-at-home orders didn't really start until about halfway through the month. How did the second half of the month look? Well, I gave a mid-month market update a couple weeks ago. Let me give you some updated numbers. And I'm going to look only at the last week of March. Okay, so this is interesting because it gives us more insight as to how things are actually transpiring in the marketplace right now, given the coronavirus pandemic, and right now, given the stay-at-home and social distancing orders that have been put in place in the state of Nevada and being enforced by Metro Police and by others, given the impacts we've had on the economy and high levels of increased new unemployment claims, closings of many people's places of work, right? So what's the impact right now? Well, in the last week of March, there were 838 homes withdrawn from the market. So that means homes that had been actively for sale, that the seller decided, I can't sell right now, or I don't want to sell right now. What would be the reasons? Perhaps they're healthcare workers and they don't want to risk having other people become infected coming into their homes where they may be bringing back germs with them on their shoes, on their clothes every day when they return from work. Or concerned that they may pick up germs coming in from people who are unknown to them who are looking at houses, and take those back to vulnerable populations. So that might be one group of people who's withdrawing property from the market. Perhaps people who have little kids at home, that it becomes or school-age children, frankly, where it becomes far more difficult to take everyone out of the house for a showing. And then concern again as to what other people may be bringing into the house. Maybe it's elderly or people with compromised immune systems who are not wanting to take chances of having people tour their homes right now. So there are reasons why people might withdraw their properties from the market right now, and some people are. In the last week of March, sounds like a big number, 838, it's about 15% of active listings were withdrawn from the market. In that regard, that's not a massive number. It does, however, indicate that, again, we've got a tight market that's not getting looser. It's very inventory constrained. So that's one number. Another number, in the last week of March 2020, there were 2,875 new contracts written. Those are buyers who have negotiated to purchase an active listing. Okay, let that sink in for a moment. In the last week of March, 2,875 buyers went into contract to purchase somebody's home. That's a big number. Now, not all of those deals are closing. There are deals that are falling out of contract. So in that last week of March, there were another 368 deals that fell out of contract. That means they're not going to mark as sold. It means they go back as active listings. Now, they may end up being withdrawn. They may expire. They may sit there and continue to get buyers looking at it and may be sold. That number is about 12% of active contracts, right? So that number is not small. That number is elevated, but it's only about 12% of active contracts. So again, at the last week of March, we had 2,875 active contracts. We had 368 drop out of contract, come back into the market. Not the same ones, not from that same pool. So these are contracts that have been issued earlier in the month, in the month of March. Why do properties drop out of contract? Well, there are always properties that drop out of contract, but these are elevated numbers. Maybe that the buyer lost a job. Maybe the buyer got transferred and no longer needs a job in Las Vegas because they're moving to someplace else. It may be that the buyer didn't recognize some of the loan requirements, or the seller had priced their property too high and a contract was written at a price that was too high and the appraisal came in low. Right now, I can tell you appraisals are not coming in low. They're coming in very close to contract prices. So it's probably not appraisal problems that are causing this back on market issue right now. And there are some number that are like that, undoubtedly, because some buyers don't do proper investigation and end up putting in bids that are too high on properties. Some sellers don't do proper investigation and they end up pricing their properties too high. And so you want to make sure your agent's able to alert you as to what the appropriate pricing is. But right now we've got some dislocation in the mortgage market. I will be doing a video later this month on interest rates and the mortgage market and how that market actually functions and clears, so that you all have a more in-depth understanding of that. But there are multiple types of mortgages that people can get, and those who are looking for jumbo mortgages, so mortgages that are over the level the government says is conforming, there's been some challenge getting jumbo mortgages to clear, to be fully underwritten and close. For those who are needing non-QM, non-qualified mortgages, those are usually mortgages based on tax statements or bank statements. They're frequently used by the self-employed whose income may look different because it's not every 2 weeks or every month that you're getting the same paycheck. So those non-QM mortgages, those have become very, very difficult to close over the past couple of weeks. I'm anticipating a loosening in that market over the next couple of weeks. The jumbo mortgage market has loosened over the previous few days, and I'm anticipating that the mortgage market will start clearing a little more effectively. Now, that's the last week of March. Are things continuing apace? Well, let me give you the most current that I can. On April 3rd, there were 108 homes, single family, resale, residential, in the Las Vegas Valley area, 108 homes that sold. That's deals that closed. There were another 100 in contract. There were 46 back on market. Now, that back on market is elevated at 46% of the in contract number, because right now at the early part of the month, we have fewer in contract than we do as we get to the middle of the month, and we have more closings that should have been taking place near the end of the month or in the first couple days than we do as we go through the remainder of the month. So the back on market is statistically a little higher because of sort of monthly fluctuations, and the in contract is a little bit lower given normal market timing fluctuations across the days of the month. Nonetheless, that's what we have on the 3rd of April. 108 sold, another 100 went into contract, not in contract, but went into contract on that day. 100 buyers met with 100 sellers and negotiated a deal and went into contract on that day. Buyers are still buying. Sellers are still selling. That's really important information. And frankly, it's very encouraging information. In this time of uncertainty, in this time where there's clearly a lot of economic dislocation, where we're having to stay apart in order to stay together, we still see this market functioning. The real estate market has not seized up. We are not seeing echoes of what we saw in the 2006 to 2011 timeframe. This is not looking like that. Now, if the lockdown continues for a year, all bets are off, right? But this isn't going to continue for a year. Right now, the stay-at-home orders look like they'll be lifted at the end of April. They may be extended for another couple weeks after that, maybe another month after that. Hopefully not, but it's possible. We don't know exactly how the future is going to unfold, but it will get better. We just don't know exactly when it will. What we do know is people are keeping an eye toward the future based on actual market transactions taking place in the real estate market. People are taking their eyes off of the real negativity and uncertainty that exists at this moment, and they're focusing on the future, how they want their lives to look in the future. And let me ask you this. If you're renting right now, or if you're thinking about selling to move to the next stage of your life, a bigger place to grow your family, or a smaller place because you're empty nesters, do you want to remain trapped where you are? Or do you want to be thinking about, if I've got to be locked at home, is this the home I want to be locked in? Or do I want a different home for myself and for my family? So things to consider. For those who are preaching doom and gloom, it ain't happening. At least that's not what the numbers are showing. For those who are extremely Pollyannish, well, that's also right. Clearly there's problems that exist in our environment right now. And we are seeing some reflection of that in withdrawals from the market on the supply side, in back on the markets, meaning that the demand somehow did not execute properly on contracts that had been written. But we're seeing lots of closed transactions. We're up 5.2% from where we were at this time last year. And last year was a pretty good year in the real estate market in Las Vegas. So I am Justin Miller with the Chong Miller Group. I hope you find this information interesting and helpful and illuminating about the environment that we actually exist in right now. If you do appreciate this video, please, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. Even more, if you're thinking about buying or selling, it's really important you contact a real estate agent, one who understands what's going on in the marketplace. We do understand what's going on in the marketplace. We're very analytical. We're also very good at working with buyers and sellers and helping them to get into good deals and to get through those good deals, making sure that transactions are actually completed. So please give us a call, reach out to us by phone or by email. You've got here on the page the email address and the phone number. We look forward to talking with you. Remember, stay safe out there.